Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasumi Balachandra.
I'm Thilina Udayaratna. First of all, let's take a look at tonight's top stories. Former Minister Mangala Samaravira bids adieu to the nation. The Prime Minister says late Mangala Samaravira was a politician with a fighting spirit who had left indelible memories in Sri Lankan politics. Cabinet approval for the weekly importation of 300,000 clinical oxygen litres required for COVID-19 patients. The program to distribute an allowance of 2,000 rupees for those deprived of a livelihood continues. The August salary of all cabinet ministers contributed to the COVID-19 fund. The Tokyo 2020 Paralympics begin. Former Minister Mangala Samaravira passed away this morning while receiving treatment at a private hospital in Colombo. He was 65 years of age at his time of demise. Late former Minister Samaravira was hospitalized after contracting COVID-19. Entering into politics from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party in 1983, late former Minister Mangala Samaravira first entered to the Parliament as a representative of the Mathura district in 1983. He had assumed many ministerial portfolios since 1994, including posts and telecommunications, urban development and mass media. Creating a new political alliance jointly with the United National Party in 2009, late former Minister Samaravira assumed the Foreign Affairs, Finance and Mass Media ministerial portfolios in the Yapalanaya government. Representing the Sri Lankan Parliament for more than 3 decades, the late former minister was renowned as a key figure in forming political alliances. His father, late Minister Mahanama Samaravira, was a cabinet minister in the 1960-65 government of late Prime Minister Sirimal Bandaranaike. Late former Minister Mangala Samaravira's final rites were carried out at the Borella Cemetery this evening, adhering to quarantine regulations.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says late former Minister Mangala Samaravira was a politician with a fighting spirit who had left indelible memories of Sri Lankan politics. In his condolence message, the Prime Minister has mentioned that the service rendered by the late Minister Mangala Samaravira as the Mathura electorate organizer for the successful Padayatra organized by them against the 17 years of dreadful regime will not be forgotten. The Prime Minister has said that they were co-conveners of the Mau Peramuna, an organization founded by late Mangala Samaravira against all killings and abductions occurred during the 88-89 terror period. Late Mangala Samaravira was a figure who always took the lead as a representative of social democracy, fighting for justice and fairness. He was also sought to take scopes of the relevant ministerial portfolio he assumed towards a new direction. Late Mangala Samaravira, who was a firm believer of reconciliation, was a creative figure in politics. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa pointed out that the sacrifice the late Mangala Samaravira made for his victory in the 2005 presidential election is an indelible memory. Although he later represented ideologically different political camps, late Minister Mangala Samaravira remained a personal friend until his demise. Minister Dana Salahapuruma said that late former Minister Mangala Samaravira was his closest friend at the beginning of his political journey. The minister said that he possesses many indelible memories of his late colleague. He said that as they continued to fight with the pen while keeping a dateless death certificate during the state-sponsored the terror period in the 90s, late Mangala Samaravira was a true friend and a confidant back then. The minister added that late minister became a symbol of prosperity with his unerring and courageous mediation for human rights and freedom. He continued to stand firmly on his views and work towards these ideologies without being concerned about benefits. The minister added that his party and his allegiance were his conscience. Minister Salahapuruma said that the late minister, as a creative and a free thinker, continued to open new avenues for the media sphere without considering any political perspectives. Issuing a condolence message, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that the demise of former Minister Mangala Samaravira, who is considered as a revolutionary political figure, has brought him with a severe shock and great sorrow. He has further said that late former minister was a rare political figure who had not deviated from his views in the face of challenges and constantly fought for his ideology and will continue to remain in the hearts of the nation. Leader of the United National Party, parliamentarian Ranil Wickremesinghe, in his condolence message has said that late former minister was an admirable communicator who represented for the reconciliation between all ethnicities. He has further said that the late Minister Samaravira was a politician who represented human rights, equality and freedom of the people with confident and stable ideologies on the country.
The Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval to import 300,000 litres of clinical oxygen required for COVID-19 patients on a weekly basis. Co-Cabinet spokesman Minister Ramesh Pathiranas said that the approval was granted for a proposal presented in this regard by Minister Kehelia Ramukvella. Minister Ramesh Pathiranas said that a gradual increase can be observed in the usage of oxygen for COVID-19 patients in the last couple of days. Therefore, the Cabinet of Ministers has granted approval for the weekly importation of 300,000 litres of clinical oxygen required for COVID-19 patients as a precautionary measure. He also said that the Cabinet had previously approved a proposal to import 120,000 litres of oxygen on a monthly basis. The relevant procurement process is underway to import the required oxygen. The government has taken steps to provide vaccines for those who are above the age of 60 years during this month. The Health Ministry has requested the public to register for the vaccine program through the hotline 1906. Mobile vaccination programs are underway for those who are above the age of 60 years and persons with special needs. The relevant mobile vaccination programs are underway with the support of the Sri Lanka Army. A mobile vaccination program was held in Tekkavatta, Vairapuliamkulam, Rambakulam and the city limits of Vavuniya today with the assistance of the Sri Lanka Army. Meanwhile, in a statement, the Ministry of Buddha Sasana and Cultural Affairs has informed that unvaccinated clergy above the age of 60 years belonging to all religious faiths should inform the Divisional Secretariat Division through the Grama Niladhari officer in the relevant area. $17,936,966 persons in the country have been inoculated with vaccine doses so far under the immunization program. 1,085,107 vaccine doses have been given to the people during the last 7 days. 175,431 vaccine doses have been inoculated yesterday. A consignment of 1 million Sinopharm vaccine doses arrived in the country today. The flight carrying the vaccine consignment arrived at the Marnarayaka International Airport at 5:10 a.m. Subsequently, the consignment was taken to the Colombo Central Vaccine Storage. 3,315 COVID-19 patients were detected from the country today. Meanwhile, 2,386 patients left hospitals today following recovery. A total of 12,087 persons are registered through the 1904 SMS service for treatment of patients at the centres and home bases on the condition of COVID-19 patients. The head of the intensive care unit of the Lady Ridgeway Hospital for Children, Dr. Nalin Kitulvatta, said that the parents should be cautious to monitor the oxygen levels of asymptomatic COVID-19 positive children. The Director General of Health Services confirmed 190 COVID-19 related deaths in the country.
Sri Lanka Medical Association has introduced special hotline numbers to connect with home quarantine COVID-19 patients in a prompt manner and check on their medical conditions routinely. President of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, Dr. Padma Gunaratna, said that this service, which is a joint venture undertaken with health and affiliated agencies, is essential for the general public.
We need to provide services for people in the community. I mean, we know that only about 20% of patients develop significant symptoms, and out of them, just about 5% of them become serious, and then there will be a need for them to be given the oxygen and also intensive care. So it becomes important for us to differentiate patients who would need hospital treatment and also who would need ICU care and the emergency care. Many of these could be done over the phone. Therefore, we thought that it would be important for us to establish a helpline to support people who are infected with COVID. And based on that knowledge, we reactivated our helpline that was in existence over so many years. Our helpline is 24/7. One could dial with any mobile phone 24/7, and if it's a land phone, it would be 1/24/7. So this 24/7 doc call service is linked to many other services such as ambulance as well as the other services that are provided by the government. And at this point of time, as a council of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, we are very happy to state that when an invitation was extended to our members, the response from our members was overwhelming. And as at this point, we have a very good response from doctors, and we have more than 200 doctors volunteered to answer this telephone service. So I make this opportunity to thank all these doctors for joining us, and also to invite all other doctors to come forward and to join our this doc call 24 service so that they could do a great service to our community. And also I request the community to dial 247 for them to get any questions sorted out with regard to COVID. We know that COVID is a disease that affects your respiratory system. When your respiratory system is affected, you find difficult to breathe. And when you have difficulty in breathing, your amount of oxygen in blood goes down. So the machine that we detect how much oxygen you are short of is pulse oximeter. It's a little gadget that we wear to a finger, so that if we have that gadget at home, then one could easily say who is becoming worse and who need to be shifted to hospital early. We at this point of time request and invite all philanthropists to come forward and to make contributions for the welfare fund of the Sri Lanka Medical Association. We call it SLMA COVID Sahana, and to support us purchasing pulse oximeters to be donated to all these COVID affected families.
Well, in other local news, the program to distribute a 2,000 rupee allowance for the people deprived of livelihoods due to the imposed quarantine curfew was conducted today as well. The program to distribute a 2,000 rupee allowance for the people in the Nimalagama Gramanilidari division in the Ingiriya Divisional Secretariat division was held today. The first stage of the program to distribute a 2,000 rupee allowance for persons deprived of livelihoods in the Homagama Divisional Secretariat division was held at the Homagama Divisional Secretariat today. The same program was held at the Kuppiyavatta Community Centre in Maradana. The inaugural ceremony of the program to distribute 2,000 rupees in Gampaha was held with the participation of Gampaha Divisional Secretary Suranga Gunatilaka today. 330,454 beneficiaries are entitled to receive the allowance in 13 divisional secretariat divisions. The relevant program was held successfully in the Mallavapitiya Divisional Secretariat Division, Kurunagala. Accordingly, a sum of 7.734 million rupees has been allocated for 3,867 beneficiaries. The 2,000 rupee allowance distribution program was held in the Moratuwa Divisional Secretariat Division today. Accordingly, more than 33,000 persons in the relevant division are entitled to receiving the allowance. The distribution of the 2,000 rupee allowance for the people in Badulla was held with the participation of the District Secretary today. 99,456 families are entitled to receiving the allowance.
Cabinet of Ministers has decided to donate their salary for the month of August to the COVID-19 fund. The Cabinet of Ministers unanimously granted approval for the proposal presented by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in this regard yesterday. Meanwhile, Cabinet spokesman Minister Dallas Alahaperuma said that the final decision on the issue pertaining to teacher salary anomalies will be reached by next week. These remarks were shared during the media briefing held to announce the Cabinet decisions at the Government Information Department today. Minister Dala Salahaperuma said that Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa proposed to all cabinet ministers to donate the salary for the month of August to the COVID-19 fund. He said that this proposal was approved unanimously. He said that all citizens in the country will make certain sacrifices when the country is faced with great difficulty. Remarks were shared over media reports circulated on various platforms pertaining to the alleged deposition of half of the salaries of employees in both state and private sectors to the COVID-19 fund. Minister Dala Salahaperuma said that no politicians has proposed to cut off the salaries of both state and private sector employees at this juncture. However, he said that requests have been made in this regard. He said that the ministers have allocated 10,000 rupees from their respective salaries for the fund thus far. He said that representatives in the lower tiers of the party have also made contributions to the fund. Therefore, he said that no one will be forced to make contributions for the fund, and he rejected these media reports as baseless. Minister Alahaperuma said that report of the Cabinet Subcommittee appointed to probe into the teacher salary anomalies has been submitted to the Minister of Finance last Friday. He said that the members of the subcommittee carried out an extensive study in this regard during the last 6 days. The minister said that the relevant responsibility was accepted with the objective to probe this issue not as politicians but from the perspective of fatherhood. He added that education is one of the most affected sectors from the COVID-19 outbreak. Therefore, he said that great effort was taken to prepare this report. He said that lengthy deliberations were carried out in this regard at the meeting of the Cabinet of Ministers. However, he said that the discussions were postponed to the following week as many aspects have to be considered when reaching a decision on this regard. The minister said that the relevant report was submitted to the Finance Minister last Friday. He said that the relevant decision in this regard will be announced to the nation next week following the consideration of observations and recommendations of Ministry of Finance and other affiliated institutions.
Core Cabinet spokesman Minister Ramesh Pathirana said that the Cabinet of Ministers has allocated 3.8 billion rupees to purchase organic fertilizer from local producers during the next Maha cultivation season.
The amount of money allocated for the local purchase of this organic fertilizer would be 3.8 billion Sri Lankan rupees. We have taken another decision few weeks ago in relation to the importation of certain nutrients that are organically derived, that is nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Yes, we have taken that decision also about 2 weeks ago. We will go ahead with those two processes, but our priority is to procure whatever the required organic fertilizer locally. That's the aim of the government. But for the interim period, till we sufficiently produce that quantity in Sri Lanka, we might have to import certain quantity of organic fertilizer. That's the nutrient enrichment from other countries.
Sri Lanka's main stock index hit a record high yesterday, gaining 3.21% and crossing above 8,400 psychological benchmarks. More than 398 million shares were traded on the Colombo Stock Exchange, with the turnover was 10.8 billion rupees, well over this year's average daily turnover of 3.8 billion rupees. Colombo All-Share Price Index gained 264.66 points to close at 8,479.65, its highest close in history, and the S&P SL20 Index of more liquid stocks gained 3.18% or 96.95 points to close at 3,148.59. Colombo All-Share Price Index crossed well above 8,500 benchmark levels during the day before settling at 8,400 levels.
Several significant milestones for the year 2021. The daily turnover marked the second highest value for the quarter at 9.9 billion rupees, and the highest ASPI level for the quarter was also recorded today, closing at 8,667.95 points. The market today recorded the daily ASPI gain at 2.21%, while the S&P SL20 index, which includes the 20 largest and most liquid stocks, also increased by 0.9% to close on 3,176.4 points. We are pleased with the market activity of 2021 so far, reaching a milestone of an all-time high value of total market turnover of 600 billion rupees, and the ASPI also gaining 27.3% year to date.
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, former President and parliamentarian Maithripala says that it is not the time to criticize the government but to make the effort in fulfilling the potential duties or tasks towards the well-being of the public. He made these remarks while speaking at a media briefing held to donate salaries of the parliamentarians representing the party to the COVID-19 fund. Former President Maithripala said that his party will render its fullest support for all efforts taken by the government for the prevention of COVID-19. No entity can estimate the sacrifices made by the health sector, tri-forces and other affiliated institutions. It is not the time to criticize the government but to make the effort in fulfilling the potential duties and tasks towards the well-being of the public.
The government has taken steps to distribute financial provisions worth 1 million each for Pirivan reconstruction. Accordingly, the relevant funds will be provided to complete projects which have already been commenced. Under the Vistas of Prosperity policy statement of the government, the project has been initiated by State Ministry of Dhamma Schools, Bhikkhu Education, Pirivans and Buddhist universities. Accordingly, 5 million rupees worth financial provisions were presented to 5 Pirivans in Kandy district yesterday. The relevant ceremony was held under the patronage of State Minister Dilum Amanugama at Sri Saranatha Dhamma Vidya Peeta, Mahapirivana Harispattua. Director of the Pirivana, Venerable Vatina Pahasomananda Thera, State Minister Vijitha Berugoda, Ministry Secretary S.H. Harishchandra were present at this occasion.
Well, that's a wrap on tonight's Rupavahini English News. Join us once again tomorrow. Until then, thanks for watching. Have a good one.
Good night.